Hey, hey, hey.
How are you?
I'm great, thanks, Evie. How are you doing?
Not too bad at all.
Okay, fabulous. We'll take that. right, as it is. Excellent. Okay, so here we are again, and just to refresh that we are sticking with the theme of I am not enough, but each week we're going to look at it through the eyes of one of the different saboteurs that we are working with through positive intelligence. Last week we looked at the judge, and the reason we chose the judge up front was because we all have a judge. However much we may like to think that we don't judge, in some shape or form, most of us do. Quite often, not even thoughtfully, but it just happens, right? Because the judge is so deeply embedded in the way that we operate. And of course, one of the beautiful things about positive intelligence is one, being able to raise the awareness of these saboteurs and how they're showing up, and then working with positive intelligence, really strengthening our mental muscle so that we can start to really kind of bring those voices down and really tap into our sage, which is the wisdom, our innate wisdom that is there. It's there. Sadly, it's probably cowering in a corner somewhere from the state of the saboteurs, but the whole purpose is to be able to bring that forth and let that flourish and let the saboteurs take a backstage pass, which is the best place for them to be. So this week we're going to look at I am not enough through the eyes of the controller. Now, not pointing fingers, but Effie, I know that the controller was one of your kind of main saboteurs, and I think it's important that we're honest. We've all got saboteurs; they're all showing up. I'll gladly share which ones mine are when we get to them. So maybe because it is or has been one of your main ones, can you just enlighten us a little bit about what the controller looks like?
Absolutely. I mean, I would like to add here that, yes, we have depending on when we do the test, the saboteurs might be different. But when I did it, the controller did show up as a very, very high saboteur. It was either the first or the second one in the hierarchy, I definitely can recognize it throughout my life. So that wasn't by accident that happened, or that I was in the control mood on that particular moment in time. But we do, depending on where we are, we do have, saboteurs. All the saboteurs can show up in a prominent space, depending, as I said, when we take the test. So the controller is, as you know, the word says, you either in control or you're out of control. That's the myth. That's what you tell yourself, and I can really resonate with that, because unless I am in control and unless I have done the things that I have told myself that I have to do, nobody else can do them. And as you can understand, in business or when I was running teams, it was very hard for me to delegate, because who can do it better than me? And that is the myth that the controller gives you. And also, even though I know I have been quite a decent manager or leader in this space, and I know that because the relationships that I created in those days are like following me years after. I had feedback from my teams, and sometimes I was overpowering, and I was lucky enough that they were open to actually tell me about it, because this is what stops the work and the relationships when you are in that controlling state, and when you are within that situation, you think that you are really pushing things forward, but here is that word that we all don't like in the positive intelligence, pushing. And that's what controllers do. They push, 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 and they're very outspoken, and they cannot believe why people get upset if you tell them what to do, and so on and so forth. And like on top of being a controller, being Greek, it's very easy for me to just put my head down and start going and telling people what to do. Sorry for the Greeks that are not like this, but yeah, I know a big percentage of us are. And this is really what can damage relationships, especially when you are in a leading position, and you can get results. Because also that's what you tell yourself, unless I push, I won't get results. You can get results, but you get them like with really tears and blood, and you don't need to do that. There is definitely a much, much better way. And I love what Shazad is saying when he says, the question to ask is always, what can I do in order from this to need to be pushed forward, to be pulled forward? How can it be pulled rather than being pushed? And when
that's the question.
use the pull, and I love the word because it has the L sound, which is like a round sound. It's like a soft sound, and like it brings that sage thing, the creativity. It brings the innovation. It brings the empathy, and all these beautiful things that sage does. So I'm very happy that even though I know I have a very strong controller, I can now tame it a bit and dial it down.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing, and I think that's such an important term that you've just used there. Dial it down. It's like this is not about eradicating these saboteurs, because there are parts of them that are that help us, that support us. Just like you said, the controller can get stuff done. However, the controller does not have to be in full control of every single thing in every single body to get stuff done. What's interesting, though, is the underpinning reasons why somebody may end up with high controller tendencies. And if my memory serves me correctly, it can often be because at a young age they had to take charge of situations, or quite early on, and that could be that they became a carer. I mean, there could be lots of different things where that comes in. It could be somebody who has gone off, left home early, and travelled, and had to be in control of situations, of their own well-being and their safety and other things around them. So, and some of that forces you to grow up quite quickly. And in that forcing you, pushing you to grow up quickly, you start learning to command pretty quickly too, potentially. And I find that quite interesting, Evie, because I know that you travelled a lot. I mean, you have travelled a lot, you still do, but I mean, you travelled a lot when you were young, right?
Oh yeah, yes. And also, I'm an elder child, which that adds up. You need to take responsibility of your younger siblings or younger sibling, and you learn how to boss them around, which I did a lot at your little brother. So I think that really stays with you.
Oh, your poor brother.
I know.
Oh,
So,
but again, the beautiful thing is, I mean, we can laugh and joke around it, but the thing is, it is a little bit of like, once these things are revealed and you see them for what they truly are, you can kind of like have a little light-hearted approach about it. That's a good thing. That's a sage thing. It's like, this is not the end of the world. We can work with this, right? And there is a way forward. And I'm sure if you redid the assessment, that has probably changed in this period of time.
probably, because that's the thing. I mean, with positive intelligence, I think you are like growing in a specific way, or like in a way you're meant to, because you are becoming aware of like the actions that you're taking and why you're taking them. So everything seems to get a meaning. And when things get that meaning, you are more likely to pay attention and say, maybe there is an easier way. Maybe there is a better way. Maybe I should listen a bit more to what the people around me say. Because also another thing from the control is that they want to always be right. And when you have that sense that you in your mind you want to be right. When you want to be right, it means you stop listening, and that's not a good thing. Thankfully, I have never been that big of a controller, at least not within like my business sense, because if I were not able to listen, then I wouldn't be able to get feedback. I have not always been graceful with the feedback that I got. Fair enough, and I can say that it is, it is what it is, but it is also a great lesson. And what I love about positive intelligence nowadays, that I can look back and I can see the lessons that I got, and how I changed my ways to facilitate a better relationships within the business, because intuitively I knew that unless I did that, I wouldn't have the right results from my teams, and that wouldn't serve the team or me, or the business in general. And but you don't need to get like to get all the lessons. You can do things without really being in such pain, because it is hard once you start realizing things. And
absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, going back, touching on this, I am not enough. So when the controller is experiencing the I am not enough, what it tends to do then is kind of like really overcompensate. Like you say, always has to be right. So there's an overcompensation that comes into play. And if they're not driving themselves into the ground by trying to control every possible outcome, they're driving others to do the same. And their lias, like the most damaging part of it is that whilst driving self, there's every chance that could lead to burnout, certainly high levels of stress. I mean, I can only begin to imagine. But for people that are also being controlled, that micromanagement is I mean, that's just so painful. It's time consuming, it's energy draining, it's painful for you as the controller, but even more painful for the people who are being controlled, who probably have enough mental agility, capacity, ability to get on and do what needs to be done. That's kind of what they're on the team for.
Absolutely. And the other thing that you are missing out on this, when you are so much in control, is you're missing out the talent that is around you.
Yes.
Because we don't know, and we can't do everything ourselves. We're not perfect in any means. And also, other people can bring in their own creativity, their own, ways of doing things, and can teach you things. But when you are in that state of mind, you're close to this possibility, and straight away it, narrows down your own perspective. And thinking of it right now, it is really, I think, the worst state to be. And when you are thinking about a controller in a position of control, they are constantly thinking that they're not enough, because that is the sense that you have. That is what's pushing you. Because if you stop, well, people will notice that you are not enough. So this is the mental games that are played, and that's not a good place to be. That is the straight, the line that takes you straight to burnout, and you then become more than not enough, not only for yourself, for your family, for everybody. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, you at that point you have literally disabled yourself. You are no longer able. You have disabled yourself because you're just in a whole other realm. And I think it's always, for me, it's always important to just acknowledge that any of these saboteurs, when they become extreme, will probably lead to health issues. So for me, that in my world, that also goes back to the fundamental need to be in a good state.
Yep.
And then as you're recognizing these saboteurs as they come up, okay, what's the work that I need to do to, as you said, Evie, and I think it's perfect, to dial it down so that my sage can have more presence and I can hear the sage more clearly within me because I'm dialing this voice down over here. And that also will feed into your health. So not just your mental, but your physical well-being as well. I think it's also important, though, to say that we've already mentioned that all the saboteurs have strengths as well. And so the controller, at its best, if you like, when it's not being overplayed or overused, is, confident, very action-centered, can get stuff done, will be decisive. These are all strengths that if you've got them, you absolutely want to have them. It's just knowing when they're being overplayed, knowing when they're becoming detrimental to self, and definitely when it's becoming detrimental to others. I think that for me is the key thing about the controller's strengths.
No, I completely agree with you. And the thing is that, like all the saboteurs play a good role in our life.
Yes.
But it is understanding that like 1 minute rule that Shazad is talking about. So all of them can be like, feeling heat in your hand when you put it on the hot stove. If like you need to feel that pain, because that is going to stop your hand from burning. And it's exactly what it is with all those voices, all those saboteurs, as we call them. We need to have them. We need to be able to react with what they're telling us and understand whether what they're telling us is like, okay, look out, or just sitting there and like giving us a headache for things that we cannot really deal with right this minute or whatever, or that they are just depleting us rather than serving us. So, and the other thing is that we need to use them as our instructors in a way to build that muscle more. Because if you didn't have the controller or any other saboteur like in your head, because you do all of them whether you like it or not, you wouldn't have the reason to listen to the sage more often, or to listen carefully for the sage, for this wisdom in your own head. So yeah, I think that they are brilliant. But they need to have their own space in our heads without overdoing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's I do kind of almost picture a stage, and I feel like certainly for me, I want my sage to be front of stage and my saboteurs just behind the curtain, where I don't have to see them. I know they're there, and I know when they are necessary, when their strengths need to show up, I can pull on the strengths. But otherwise, you just stay behind the curtain, and all is well in my world. That's how I like to picture it in my head.
That's fabulous. That's a really, really good depiction. I think that is one for the, how do you call it, for like for the screensaver or something.
Yes.
Yeah, a fantastic
Stage
one.
front and centre stage, saboteurs behind the curtain. They can have a little peek as and when required.
For sure. But that's the thing, if we know them and have named them, we can like use the strength of them in every moment and time that they are needed.
Indeed.
because the creation of them came in a time of our lives that we couldn't really, I mean, we needed them. They supported us, they helped us, but because they stayed with us unconsciously, we, they don't really have play or that same role now in our lives, but they can still play a very, very important role, as long as
Yeah.
we are in control. The pun.
No pun intended. Yeah, love that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, okay, so if we then think about the controller and we're thinking about this, I am not enough, how do we, when we have the controller in a place where we are able to dial it down, we have that switch. So we go from over controlling, having to be the voice of everything, having to demand, to actually being in a place where we empower ourselves to focus on what we need to do, and a little bit of empower others to do what they can do instead of dictating what they must be doing all the time. And I'm asking you more so than telling you, Evie, because again, I think you will have experienced this in your teams and things before.
No, that's the thing. I mean, you need to start inviting others to take center stage,
Yes.
and really paying attention to your feelings in those moments, and allowing everybody to have a saying, gives them the opportunity to be part of the team, to feel that they are valued within the team, and then they can also feel that they are enough within the team, because it's not only about you as a leader. I mean, you know very much about leadership, but within a team, you really, the most important thing is to utilize the talents of all the team, immaterial of how many people they are in the team, how old or new they are in the team. There is always something that everyone can contribute. And if you are leading teams like that, it's best if you are, taking a step back and listening to what every single person has to say. Also, I have found that you might have an idea in your head and you really want that to happen. It makes much more sense to allow the team to come to that conclusion through discussion and some backwards and forwards information that will be fed within the meeting, rather than you going and saying, oh, you know what, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And of course there are moments within teams, and there are different styles of management that we know exist, and there are moments where one person needs to decide and needs to move on with something, but they're not like you need to understand which are these moments, and your team will know that this is important for this particular moment in time if you have made them understand that your management style is sort of like a mixed management style, that you can have the discussions when the time is right, and taking the lead when the time is right as well. So I think that if you are especially, I don't want, yeah, I would want to say especially a woman, but at the end of the day, it's not just for a woman or a man in this situation. When you are in a position of control and you are a controller, you need to really, really think your relationships. I think that is going to give you a better understanding of what kind of a controller you are, and if you need to really dial this thing down. Because the
Yeah.
relationships are the first thing that suffers is that.
Yes.
So
yes. Oh, right. There was something you said, Evie, and it literally just a light bulb went on, and it was the thing is, if you feel like you're not enough, and one of your leading saboteurs is the controller, which means you have to control everything, you have to control everyone, what doesn't get done, when it gets done, how it gets done. That is not only impacting yourself. So we said that if you continue down that road, chances are it will impact your health, etc. But you're also demeaning the team. So if you are leading a team, or you're demeaning your team, and you're making them think that they're not enough either. They also now feel like they're not enough because they can't meet the standards that you want. They're not getting it done the way you want. And so it's almost like you passing on a baton of really not desired energy to others. And yet the flip to that is actually trusting your team members and actually ensuring that they feel that they have the that you are giving them the authority to do what they do best, and that you trust them to do that. And that is such a very sage approach. And like you said, Evie, it's about understanding, when do I need to bend and flex my style for the situation, and how do I need to bend and flex it? Is this one of those moments where actually I need to make the call? So, controller even aside, I just need to be decisive. That's absolutely okay. Is this a moment when I really do need the team buy-in? Therefore, I need to understand how they think and how they feel and get their thoughts, so that we can have a collective conversation. Even if at the end of the day, I still have to be the one that makes the decision, I still want them to know that what they have to contribute is important. And so I think, as the controller, if you can understand how you're showing up and the impact you're having on others, and you can learn to dial it down and just really use the strengths, wow, what a difference that makes for your team, because your team then sees you as the strong, confident person that you are, who is decisive, who can get stuff done. Also, the same person who knows how to bring them in and ensures that they get to show up and they get to use the best of their skills, abilities, without you hanging over their shoulder. Because I don't know anybody who likes to be micromanaged.
No, absolutely. And that's the thing, like I'm sure every controller out there, myself included, we definitely don't like being micromanaged because we know better. And we don't. So why should anybody else? Why do we have to micromanage others? I mean, it doesn't make any sense, but it happens like this. And, like coming back to like, for women in high positions, women in leadership roles, it is even more important for them not to show up as like huge controllers, not for any reason other than, because women, we want to make that change in leadership. We want to bring the softer type of leadership and the approach of like inclusivity and getting use of all talent, and also making sure that our colleagues that are also female don't feel that pressure that we potentially have felt in the past, that causes us to feel that we are not enough. I have to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. So better if we start pulling and pulling and pulling, and creating that lovely atmosphere that people won't think that okay, I just can't deal with this person.
Yeah.
But say, okay, this is a leader that I can look up to, and that they will get me places because they value my input. Because that is the bottom line. Who wouldn't want, to be that kind of leader?
Absolutely. And that value my input, value my work. That is such such an important role for, or such an important thing for a leader to ensure that they deliver on, is that people have that, because all of that is around the trust building. And if you build trust, it builds the connection. And what that also means is that when you do need to give feedback that may not necessarily be
complimentary
or complimentary, whatever way we want to put that, they are more likely to listen and take it because they understand and they've seen the fullness of you. As opposed to somebody who is constantly pushing, and then you pile on feedback that is not supportive. Actually, if you're pulling people toward you, if you're pulling them in, and again, it's an image, you pull people in, show them that they care, show them that they matter. Yes, make sure that everything needs to get done, but trust that they will do that. And when they're not doing that, then you're in a position to give that feedback and for them to be open to taking it, because all you've been doing is nurturing and pulling them in anyway. So I feel that's a really important thing. And I just, in my head, I keep on thinking, I'm using this word trust a lot, but trust also raises our oxytocin. Got to do a little bit of physical intelligence there. And that sense of connection. And that's also really important in a team environment when you want to build a team up, when you want people to be on side, for them to feel connected to you, connected to the vision, connected to their other team members. Really important
Absolutely.
stuff.
But I mean, it's not only about teams. In a family environment, you can see the same thing.
Yes.
And as you said, trust is very important for all of us, for all our relationships. So that is key. When you want people to do what you want done, even in a family environment, invite them to take responsibility and suggest this as well. It's not like like only how you want things done. Except if you live by yourself, then do what you want.
Absolutely, exactly. Invite, and I think that is it. Invite people to stand, and I want to say in their power as opposed to empower them to. In their power, because they have the power, and it's an invitation for them to stand in their power, and for you to say, I respect that you have that, and I don't have to dictate every last thing to you. And I think that also for the controller, that also demonstrates I am enough. I don't have to be breaking my back and everybody else's back to get stuff done. That is, I might be able to, but who wins there? Nobody. If I can actually just tap into the strengths of my controller and let the over controlling elements fall away, I would guarantee that the results would be better. And you would be surrounded by happier people, be that in your personal life or your professional life.
100%. And I think the happiest of them all will be yourself.
Yeah.
You will realize that there is a better way forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And on top of that, you gain back time because you're not trying to manage every single, you gain back energy because you're not depleting yourself, trying to do everything. And that will probably gain you some sanity and some joy. So it's got to be worth it, right?
For sure.
Excellent. Anything that you want to finish on, Evie, in terms of the...
Well, for all the controllers out there, just know there is a better way. And if you feel that's not realistic or you have any other thoughts, please let us know in the comments. And, it will be great to hear other people's opinions on this.
Yeah.
But also, if you want to learn more about the positive intelligence, again, let us know.
Yeah, we'll post a link in. I think we just need to start doing this each week. Post a link in. If you haven't already done the assessment, go take the assessment. It really is an eye-opening opportunity. And I mean that in a very positive way. This is not about you going to read something so you think, oh my gosh, what mess am I in? It's about being able to read something and think, wow, that's what's been going on. Now, what can I do about it? That's the kind of way we kind of want you to go with this. So, Evie, thank you so much for sharing
Thank you.
This specific one. As the weeks come up, we will have some the same and some different that we will get to talk about from our own personal experiences. But stick with us and just keep on tuning in and finding out more about positive intelligence and the power that it brings when we reveal the saboteurs, and then dial them down and bring our sage center stage. Yes.
I will have
Thank
this picture in my head now, Yvonne.
Yes. I kind of built it for that purpose, right?
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Evie, as always.
Thank you. Thank
Thank you to anyone who's
See you
joined
next
us
week.
and who's on replay. Take care.
Bye.